So the next tip is to go guerrilla. And it's like creating a conference with inside the conference. And one strategy I've used is the day before. So back when I did a lot of work in the affiliate business, we created a digital marketing boot camp and we ran a conference inside the conference before the conference called the Digital Marketing Boot Camp. And I booked the room, paid for the room, booked all the speakers. The conference announced it on their conference materials. And it gave me the opportunity to sort of create a profile for 10 golden rules at the conference. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. For those of you listening, it might not be afternoon where you're at and when you're at. I'm Jay Berkowitz, and we've got an all-star cast here of ambassadors for TGR Live, our upcoming conference, and I'll tell you all about that in a minute. And today, everybody's going to give you their best conference hacks. If you're not familiar with the term hacks, the cheats, the cheat codes, the workarounds, we call this Conference Commando. So, how to really do great at a conference, however you define great. Some people want to meet a lot of people, and attorneys want to meet attorneys in other states for referrals, meet great vendors. Sometimes you go to a conference, you're looking for employees, and sometimes you just want to have a little bit of fun because your boss sent you to the conference. So, we're going to give you all of the great Conference Commando hacks. Without further ado, I'm going to start out, and then you're going to meet all of our all stars here. As I said, we call it How to Be a Legal Conference Commando. Successful strategies for networking, speaking, sponsoring, and standing out. We've got an all-star crew here with us today, and everybody will be going through their own tips. And the reason I thought of this is because these folks are the ambassadors for TGR Live, our conference coming up March 16th and 17th in Delray Beach, Florida. And this is the Opal Grand Hotel, beautiful location right on the Delray Beach. And Delray Beach is in between Palm Beach and Fort Lauderdale, right next to Boca Raton, where 10 Golden Rules head office is. It's a great location. We've got some awesome speakers. And if you missed last month's webinars, they all gave you a little preview of their talks. And so you can find those folks on our YouTube channel. But Steve Gersten's going to talk about 4 ways to make millions more from your cases. Rob Levine has some great strategies from a successful law firm owner. Stacy Brown Randall is amazing. She's fire. She talks about how to get more referrals without even asking. Chris Keller is going to talk about 5 disciplines to transform your life and your practice. And Cassidy's going to talk about cutting edge marketing from the CMO suite. We added a new speaker. I think we have a slide for him, Julio Oyorhante, and I apologize, I don't quite have his name yet. He has 2.3 billion views on his social media on videos. 2.3 billion. He's the most popular immigration attorney in the world, and he helps people figure out how to apply for visas and things like that. So he's going to share his strategies for how he got so many views and built an 8-figure law firm. These are our ambassadors. And one of the things that makes TGR Live different from every other conference is we've asked these folks to come and help make the conference amazing for you. And so they all have a job to introduce you around, to get to know you, especially if it's your first time at a conference like this. I've been the newbie at a legal conference, and I know it's hard to break into the cliques and meet the people you want. And so they're all going to give you the short code. If you want to meet an intake company, or if you want an after hours call center, or if you're looking for a business coach, they're going to introduce you to the best possible person and make sure that after the opening night welcome cocktail party, or certainly by lunch, you're going to have a couple friends and you're going to have a couple resources to do exactly what you need to do. So you're going to meet most of these folks today. A couple people couldn't be here today, and they'll be there at the conference to introduce you around, make sure you have a great time. I'll give you a link for the conference in a minute, but this is for the cocktail party. Now, if you can or don't want to spend 2 days with us, March 16th and 17th, please come on Monday night, March 16th. We're having a really fun cocktail party, and this is more for like the local people who wouldn't go to the conference but want to network with amazing people in the legal industry. And all the proceeds are donated to the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County. The Legal All Stars Band, hosted by Greg Geffen and his crew. We've got a bunch of lawyers who are going to play in this real fun party band. Please join us for the entire conference or just the cocktail party. You can find the conference information on 10goldenrules.com. You just click on the link, or you can go directly to 10goldenrules.com/TGR Live. So at 10 Golden Rules, we start every client meeting with the joke of the week. So we got to start our webinars with a joke. What do you call a lawyer who's great at cooking? A sous chef? Sous chef. Get it? Well, sometimes they're great jokes and sometimes they're dad jokes. Okay. So I don't know if anyone has audio on, so I don't know if it was any good or not. Anyways, I come from a place called Winnipeg, Canada, and this is what it looks right now at City Park. They freeze the duck pond and make it a skating rink. But luckily, Bonnie and Parker and I, we now live in beautiful Boca Raton, which is why we are adjacent to Delray Beach. I started my career working for Coca-Cola and McDonald's as a director of marketing and went directly from selling sugary Coca-Cola and Big Macs and French fries to ediets.com, an online diet company that we grew to $60 million in revenue. And at eDiets, I was asked to speak at the Direct Marketing Association. I wrote a presentation called The 10 Golden Rules of Online Marketing. And 23 years ago, I started my marketing company called 10 Golden Rules. So we do internet marketing. We only work with law firms now. We have over 1 million views on these videos. So if you're watching this in the future, you're one of over 1 million views. This is where you can find some great content about digital marketing. We made the Inc. 5000 this year, and we work with a bunch of amazing attorneys all across the country. So my presentation today, I'm going to give you my top tips. And the reason we called this Conference Commando, there's an awesome book I highly recommend by Keith Ferrazzi called Never Eat Alone. And, the principle's obvious, like you should always network, especially at a conference. Don't go up to your room and have dinner. You should get involved in a dinner at a conference. So this chapter is called Be a Conference Commando. And it's kind of that mindset. Victory is determined before the battle begins, from The Art of War. And he says that turning a conference into your own turf and setting goals ahead of time turns a casual conference into a mission. Don't just be an attendee, be a conference commando. So one of his first tips that I've adapted over the years is to help the organizer, or better yet, be the organizer. So obviously I'm throwing this great party and conference called TGR Live, Growth Strategies for Law Firms. So we've organized our own conference. This is our 4th year. And it's amazing, like the kind of people on this call you'll see are I've built fantastic relationships with. And obviously, if you're the conference organizer, you definitely get to speak on the stage. Now, what he's also saying is if you're not the organizer, you should help the organizer. And so a great tip is to call the organizer a few months in advance. Hey, I'm really looking forward to the conference. I'd love it to be a big success. I'd like to devote a chunk of my resources, be it creativity or connections, to help make it a bigger success. And a number of the ambassadors have already done that. They called me up. They said, Jay, what do you need? What help do you need? I said, well, we're looking for a few more sponsors. We still have a couple spots available if anyone's interested. And I said, any great speakers? Who's the most amazing speaker you've seen this past year? And of course, we're looking for folks to come to the conference. So please invite attorneys and business people who work in law to the conference. So when you call the organizer, like, get involved. Hey, can I be on a committee? Can I volunteer? Here's a great one from the book, which is pick up the speaker at the airport. And most conference organizers would be like, oh, that's cool. This guy seems normal. And especially if you live locally, like, I'll go and pick up the speaker at the airport. In the days before Uber, that was a bigger deal. But basically, getting involved with the conference gets you on the inside, and then you're in the know on the private events, the dinners, the parties. Maybe you get the backstage pass. I've had that experience before where I got involved with the organizers and I got to go backstage, hung out with Tony Robbins and amazing people backstage at conferences. So the next tip is to go guerrilla. And it's like creating a conference with inside the conference. And one strategy I've used is the day before. So back when I did a lot of work in the affiliate business, we created a digital marketing boot camp and we ran a conference inside the conference before the conference called the Digital Marketing Boot Camp. And I booked the room, paid for the room. booked all the speakers. The conference announced it on their conference materials, and it gave me the opportunity to sort of create a profile for 10 golden rules at the conference. Another tip, and this one's directly from Keith Rotzi, is throw a welcome party the night before and send invites to all the speakers and all the celebrities who are going to be there at the hotel. So when they get to the hotel, they get this invite when they check in, and it says, "Hey, we're having this cocktail party at the bar," and you got a roped off area of the bar. Again, now you get to know all the key people the night before. This is another great one from Keith Ferrazzi, which is to create a dinner. And another version of it is the speaker dinner. And I've successfully, a number of times, created a speaker dinner. And what Keith suggests is you contact the keynote speaker and you say, "Hey, we're having a speaker dinner the night before the conference. If you're going to be in on time, why don't you join the other speakers?" And it's a little bit of a trick because once the keynote speaker says yes, then you contact all the other speakers and all the other celebrity sponsors and you say, "We're having a dinner with the keynote speaker." And I've used that very, very successfully. So I had a dinner booked for a conference and I was speaking at the Inc. 500 conference, and I had a minor speaking slot, and as did this up and coming guy with a book called The 4 Hour Work Week. His name was Tim Ferriss. And I went to talk to Tim and he said, "Oh, I'm going to Blog World after this." I said, "Oh, I'm going to Blog World. Why don't you join us at the speaker dinner?" And Tim Ferriss became a huge New York Times bestseller with the 4 Hour Work Week. And he was at my speaker dinner at the next conference. We also are throwing parties. So a lot of the folks on this call are ambassadors. At PILMA, the recent PILMA conference, we threw the PILMA party. We invited about 100 people and had one of the quiet nights of the conference. We had the event of the conference. We were all talked about. We had a dinner on our 20th anniversary for 10 Golden Rules, and we've hosted the Golden Gavels at the National Trial Lawyers Conference. So creating that presence within the conference is super powerful. Now, one of the best things you can do is speak at conferences. And when you're the speaker, a lot of people don't realize this, but it's the best way to hack a conference because everybody comes to you. Everybody wants to meet the speaker. There's a lot of times at a conference, there's a green room with the other speakers. At bigger conferences, the media is often in the same green room with the conferences. There's often private dinners and events, but you're really on the inside of the conference if you're a speaker. And then you can take your content, you can cascade it. So you can film it and you can put it out there. Now, people always ask me, how do I get started speaking? So, one of the great tips, there's an organization called Toastmasters, and I joined it when I was just starting my career. And you learn how to do presentations. So, if you're not confident on stage, join a Toastmasters and get some practice. And then they always say, like, how do you get on the big stages? Well, you start region. Like, I spoke at the local Women in Communications South Florida. They asked me to speak at the Women in Communications for the Southeast region. And then they asked me to speak at Orlando at the national conference. But if you do a good job, you'll often be able to parlay one speaking opportunity into other ones. And the next thing you need is great presentations. And I'll close up with this suggestion, which is a couple books. This one's called The Presentation Secrets of Steve Jobs. And you all are familiar with those great presentations. If you haven't seen Steve Jobs' presentations, if you're younger, go back and watch some of them. And he had these amazing presentations with these really clean slides. iPod, 1,000 songs in your pocket. And with just one graphic, a few words, he was able to create these very compelling images. Another book that I highly recommend is called Presentation Zen. This is actually my go-to, and I sent a copy to all our speakers for TGR Live. And Gar Reynolds created this book about the beautiful slides where you tell a story behind the slide, and you don't have to have a whole bunch of words. We all hate those slides with a whole bunch of words. And the worst thing is when someone reads all those words, right? So the best thing is when we just have a nice clean graphic and all the information on this slide is communicated in just these few words. It's much more compelling. Or how about just this, where the speaker memorizes the words and says the words? So we can make the slide super compelling. Here's another one of his before and afters, a terrible chart with graphics and small, teeny little type. You can't read this from the back of the room. And here's a great version of one of his slides that just makes the point very, very quickly. Another one with a slide where people threw in a bunch of graphics and they thought it was super clever. But really, what you want to communicate is this headline: 40% of the money was spent at restaurants. So, very, very clean, very, very powerful. And the last speaker tip is include a QR code. Now, this is a real QR code. So, if you all want to get a marketing handbook that we created to talk about the best, latest strategies for SEO and PPC, just go ahead and scan this or go to 10goldenrules.com/free-handbook / free-handbook if you're listening on the audio. And we have strategies in there to get listed in Google's AI and ChatGPT and the LSA secret algorithm, how to get to the top of the LSAs. Now, I'm sharing this as a tip because it's a great strategy for your presentations. You always want to have a QR code. And as soon as you put this up, like the phones immediately go up and people register to get your free handout. But it's a great way to build your leads when you're speaking. But I'm also actually sharing the free handbook here today. Now, the last tip I'm going to share is for everybody, for every conference and every bar association and every chamber of commerce ever. Because a lot of times you get in those awkward conversations where you just don't know what to talk about. Has anyone been there? I see a few heads nodding. This is a great strategy from Andrea Nuremberg, the book Nonstop Networking. And she says, picture in your mind a house. And whenever you're going to a networking event, just go through this exercise. And the house is the start of the conversation that you're going to have with someone. And remember, you always want to ask them a lot of questions. Make it super easy because it's awkward if neither of you are talking, right? So the first question is, where are you from? Super easy, never awkward for anyone. They could tell you what company they're from. They could tell you where they drove in from or flew in from at a conference, or they could tell you where they grew up, right? You're making it super easy for them. Same thing. Please tell me about your family. Again, don't ask them if they have kids. Maybe they don't have kids. Maybe they just got divorced. But if you say, please tell me about your family, they can tell you about their grandfather who was a World War hero. I have a dog named Parker. Do you have any pets? You know what people love to talk about their pets? How about their passions and hobbies? My friend Jeff Michelle says, always collect passions. So, what are your hobbies? Maybe this guy's a golfer. So, you're imagining the golf clubs. Now, if you guys are there really early and everybody else is in their little cliques and you're talking a little bit more, do you have any trips planned? Right? Everybody probably has something planned. You know, you have to open. What are your goals and dreams? The clouds are representative of your goals and dreams. And this is a great question. Are you working on any projects? Because as networkers, we want to help people out. We want to be able to refer to the experts here in the room. So maybe they're rebuilding their boardroom, like this picture, or maybe they want to hire an intake professional or change their case management software, in which case, the folks you're going to meet on this call would be the experts that I would recommend. So that's a great question to ask. Another good conversation starter: who's your NFL team or your sports team? Always makes great conversation. And then this is a great question for conferences. And this is something I ask, particularly when I'm walking through the trade show floor. What's working for you guys right now? And it's a great question because you always get really good ideas. And sometimes you'll learn a lot with those questions. So, what do I talk about? You just imagine the house. Where are you from? Tell me about your family. Yeah, I have a dog named Parker. Do you have any pets? Are you working on any projects? Who's your sports team? Any trips planned? Super easy way to make someone else feel super comfortable, get into a conversation. And obviously, you can talk business after that. That is my section. And thank you guys for sticking with me. As I mentioned, we've got an awesome rock star group here today. And we're going to start with Ivy Slater. And Ivy built a really successful business. She had a printing business as a CEO, and she sold the printing business and became a successful CEO coach. She works with a number of law firms, travels around the country to visit her clients, but I think really to see her kids and her grandkids. She's a power table speaker at TGR Live. She was there last year. So, Ivy, what's one thing you would say about TGR Live in the past?
Honestly, they were really nice people. Like, people I'm still in touch with because I've really enjoyed getting to know them, enjoyed the conversations. People I'm looking forward to seeing again. So, honestly, Jay, I was gonna say your community builds really nice people.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about TGR Live. It's really becoming a community now.
Yeah.
as we go into our fourth year and third year of TGR Legal. So, Ivy, please go ahead and share us your best tips on how to
Sure.
succeed at a conference.
Hi, everyone, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at TJR Live. These are my hacks. This is what I do for conferences. And I always start, I never show up anywhere without setting an intention. Know the why of why you're going somewhere. Take that Simon Sinek why and put it in the why you're going somewhere. Who do you want to meet? What kind of conversations matter to you? What does success look like? I believe a lot in visioning. When you leave the conference, when you complete TGR Live, what would make you feel successful? So if we have that vision, then we can create the why and the intention of showing up. Bottom line, without intention, conferences become noise instead of opportunity. And I'll say clarity turns attendance into strategy. And that's my gig, is strategy, just so you know. Be fully present. Okay. Does not take brain surgery. Half showing up delivers half the value. So if you have your head down and you're working on your computer the whole time, you're not conversing. If you're on the phone the whole time, you're not engaging, you're not interacting, you're not actually taking that opportunity to meet people, to create this intention and success your way. Bottom line, my quote is, if you're distracted, you're invisible. Okay. Or the only person who's getting your attention is that technology. Don't get the benefit of being in the room if you're not actually in the room. It's not brain surgery, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a quote that I love. Be more interested than interesting. Don't be that sleazy car salesman. Connection beats self-promotion. I truly believe every time you actually connect with people, you're making those connections at ET moment. Ask thoughtful questions, ask open-ended questions. Jay just gave you some great tips of how to open conversations. Always ask open-ended question. Listen. Okay, there's listening and there's hearing. Okay, take the wax out of your ears, actually listen and engage. Be curious. Try not to be the performer of the room and put on the show. You will make a bigger impact when you're creating curiosity. Remember remember how you made them feel, not how impressed you sounded. The strongest connections, ladies and gentlemen, come from the best listeners. Conference aren't auditions. We're not at an audition today. We want to actually engage and meet new people. The real ROI is in the follow-up. There's a great sales expression that goes, the money is in the follow-up. Business cards don't build relationships. Don't go around collecting them. Nobody really cares. A lot of people don't even carry them. If you do collect a business card, I encourage you to make immediate notes. Remember the things that were impressive to you. Oh, they had the cutest dog. I have to ask about Spot again, right? Where is our follow-up here? Capture those notes and the context of what is their family, what is their dream vacation they're going on this summer, and then do that follow-up in your notes so you know, hey, how was that trip to Italy? I told you I'd get you my itinerary from last year. Here it is. Stay in the personal as well. Block your calendar and block your time for follow-up before you show up. Okay, that is one of my key things. Schedule those coffee chats when the energy is high. If there's no space in your calendar, there's no space for momentum, there's no space for relationships. Again, the conference isn't successful at the conclusion of the conference. It's successful when the follow-up begins. Last but not least, stay top of mind. And I call these Ivy's 3 I's. A little kitschy. Relationships grow when you put attention to it. So this extends the value of the conference and reinforces the long-lasting game. To me, that's the long game. 3 I's. Information. Share something informative. You all who are listening can know I am a summer gardener. It's a hobby. So you could come over to me and say, hey, did you see this article on? Okay, that's information. Invitation. Are you going to this conference? Oh my goodness, we're hosting a cocktail event. You ought to come. Introduction. Who are you connecting people to? Your network is your net worth. Make the most of it. Relationships don't happen by accident. Your true trust compounds over time. You build that know, like, and trust. Take the time, use your energy wisely.
Ivy, that was fantastic. Thank you so much. Summer gardening, hopefully coming soon. 3 feet of snow. It's not,
As soon as you get the
the
snow out
soil's
of the
gonna be nice and
Northeast,
wet.
we could talk.
All right. Well, back to the Northeast and 3 feet of snow. Pleased to invite and introduce Chris Earley, one of our ambassadors for TGR Live. He also spoke at the last TGR Live, been on the TGR podcast. He coaches his son's baseball team. But one thing I really admire about Chris is you put out a ton of content. Like I think every day you send an email and stack all your socials, right? LinkedIn and the socials. So you're always top of mind for me. It's awesome. And you've been to TGR Live. Please tell everyone one quick reason they should come to TGR Live.
Well, Jay, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for having me. I go to a lot of stuff. What was different about your event was that speed networking, right? And that wasn't long and it wasn't short. It was just the right amount of time to just sit down with people in rapid succession and meet so many people. So I thought it was really cool and different. So I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, great point. The first morning before the first break, we do speed networking. We literally line all the chairs up facing each other. And when we started, everyone's like, oh, networking. And then as soon as it started, we just like tell them your name, your company, and one thing you'd like to accomplish at the conference. And the energy went boom, and we couldn't get people to move on to the next person. We'll definitely be doing that again this year at the conference. Well, Chris, you're not just a conference commando. I think you're a general, like, as you really stand out at the conferences. So give everyone your conference commando tips, please.
All right, appreciate Jay again. Thank you so much. So I believe that learning is great, but execution is better. So whatever you do on this call, take a couple ideas and actually implement, and that will propel you forward, I'm sure, right? Execution is crucial. So I can be sometimes obnoxious, so I'll wear my early logger merchandise to conferences. That's not because I'm not intentional. It is intentional because I want to stand out and be different. When I speak, I even wear my merchandise sweatshirt. I want early logger to be out there. My slogan's on the back. I want to be memorable and stand out. So I encourage you, how can you be different and stand out? Right? How can you be different from the crowd? There's hundreds of people. Let's be different and unique, stand out. This is a little thing. I don't do it all conference long, but I like to kind of hang out near the doors sometimes because I can see the room. I can pan the room and see, okay, Paul Faust over there. I want to go say hi to my friend Paul. Right. Adam's over there. Oh, Adam's over there. I want to go see hi to Adam Rossen. Right. Little things like that. And everyone's going through the doors. It seems kind of small, but I shake so many hands, I'm at the door. So those are some things that I like to do. Next slide, please. So ask and you shall receive. The only reason I spoke last year at Teacher Live is I asked Jay, I said, hey, can I speak? I think he said no, but then he said, okay, fine, because I probably annoyed you. So you have to ask for opportunities or else you don't get them because you stack opportunities. I spoke at Jay's event last year. Now we're here. Now I'm coming back in 2026. Always be seeking to get opportunities, right? I'm a very introverted guy, but I do like to speak on stage because it's networking on steroids. Jay said, if you can get any stage, I don't care if it's 5 people, 500, ask and you shall receive. Event organizers need speakers. And so it's crucial. If you want to take it up a notch, right? Once you have butts and seats and you're speaking to an audience, how do you communicate with that group after the fact? I like to collect email addresses. So I'll have a QR code on a slide that I'm using. Say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, scan this code. Let's stay in touch, right? Again, the fortunes and the follow-up, like we just talked about. If possible, I like to get a list of attendees beforehand. If I see that Paul Faust is going to the conference, I'm going to make sure, okay, I want to say hi to Paul at the conference, right? I want to be intentional because I'm married with 2 kids. My time is limited. When I go to an event, I want to like squeeze the lemon dry. I want to get as much as I can without being sort of willy-nilly. So I want to focus on who I want to see and I line that up. I'll write that down. Go say hi to Paul. Make sure you do that. Mention this thing you want to follow up with Paul on. Whatever. Paul started to pick on you, but I know you have tough, thick skin. I'm a real LinkedIn savage. I love LinkedIn. And so this is a thing I do is I will take a photograph of everyone's name tag and say, hey, Jay, you mind if I just photograph your name tag without being creepy about it? I'll just photograph Jay's name tag. So I remember, okay, I spoke with Jay. Let me connect with him on LinkedIn, right? I want to keep that conversation going. And this is all sort of like a holistic, full rounded circle, right? When I speak, I want to put that on LinkedIn. When I'm about to speak in an event, right? Say in a few weeks at CGR Live, I'm posting about that, right? Hey, make sure you sign up for this conference. It's gonna be a great event. I'd love to see you there. Just using what you got, I feel like that's been super impactful for me. All right, a couple other just quick things if I have a moment. You have to be social. Like I said, I'm very introverted, but at conferences, I'm very gregarious because I'm comfortable at events, right? It's okay to like just play a different role and get out of your skin and just be like a little bit different. If you're getting on an airplane, you're paying for the hotel, like get as much as you can out of it and be super gregarious because you cannot meet anyone with your head down. As we just talked about earlier, turn your phone off, turn the email off, be locked in, be present. And I hope that's helpful. But again, implement a couple of these things and I think you'll be glad you did. Thanks, guys.
Chris, maybe expand on that for a sec, because a lot of people are introverted and a lot of us
Yeah.
go to a conference for the first time and there's like 100 people you've never seen before. Or you're in Vegas at Mass Store, it's made perfect, and there's 1,000 people. How do you get gregarious? What are some of the things you tell yourself?
I just generally like these events. Maybe I'm like a weirdo. I like business conferences. I feel comfortable there. And so I just get comfortable. I didn't always go to conferences. I'm sort of a late bloomer. I started doing this like maybe 6, 7 years ago. I'd go to like 10 a year. I'd go to more of them. My wife would divorce me. So I try to keep it like 10 a year and get the most out. But the more you do the reps in the gym, the easier it gets. So you can get comfortable. You just mentioned Toastmasters, getting the reps, getting practice with this, right? Am I going to see people I know? Is this a good use of my time? Things like that. But I encourage you, get uncomfortable, go to these things, be uncomfortable, and you get more comfortable, I find, with time. So hope that's helpful and
That
valuable.
definitely gets better over time, right?
Definitely.
Well, thank you, sir. Awesome stuff, as expected. Patrice Gimenez is one of my favorite people in the legal biz. She goes by Legal Pat, name of her company, and I think we all remember her that way. If you need to update your tech, if you are looking at new case management or any of the associated tech, your computer systems, she's definitely the go-to industry expert. I think this will be your third time at TGR Live, Pat? So she's one of the few who's been at all three. And she is an excellent conference commando. So, Pat, first things, tell people about TGR Live.
Things that I love about TGR Live is really what Ivy and Chris talk about. It is such a great group of people, and they absolutely make you feel comfortable. It doesn't matter if you're a speaker, and like the first time I ever got to meet Chris Earley was like, oh my God, I got to meet this guy. He's great. But that's really what it's all about, is that everybody's on an equal playing ground. It doesn't matter what you do, where you live. There's something that you can take away from every single conversation that you have because they're friendly conversations.
Perfect. You stood out to me recently at National Trial Lawyers. I saw your social media after the fact. So I'm looking forward to your conference commando tips.
I'm that kind of person that has actually changed my life. So I, for 25 years, was the vendor that was trying to grab everybody's attention, all the attorneys that were coming. And now I'm on the other side. And so now, as much as I need the attorney, the law firm clients, I also need the vendors and the software companies also as clients. And so I am one of those folks who really believes that a little bit of homework gets you in the right place. And there's so many areas online anymore that it makes it so easy to do this. And if you are one of those folks who is uncomfortable now walking into a crowd of people that you don't know, go early, be the first couple of people that are there, and then everybody else who walks in the door is most likely going to migrate to you because there's nobody else there and they don't want to stand alone. So they're going to be that person. And then I always say, hang out around the bar because ultimately it seems to be the meeting place. Even if you're not a cocktail drinker, it does still give you the opportunity to be able to be where there's another group of people. What I've done in the past, and certainly will continue to do in the future, is a lot of the larger organizations now have an event app. And in that app, not only do you get the calendar of what the schedule is going to be, but you get access to other attendees. And so I love to tell my first story of how I sat on an airplane on my way to AJ in Philadelphia, and had the app for the convention. And I sent 100 messages to let people know I had just started Legal Pat and I had a new story to tell. And the engagement that I was able to drive off of that really brought me home a client. So the apps are great when you have that capability. And then for the most part, you live with them. And LinkedIn, we are definitely a group of people that have bought into the LinkedIn theories. And it's another great place because certainly Jay has been awesome about promoting today's event as well as TGR. And every single time that he posts, you can always go and look and see who's the people that are posting on that. That gives me an opportunity to be able to reach out, whether you're a speaker or us group of ambassadors, or we're just going to attend. And so you can start that engagement totally through LinkedIn. Certainly promoting yourself, you want to be able to promote that you're going to be there at the event, which is going to give you some additional visibility for that. So I'm into mind the speaker comments for warm intros. And many times you can get the speakers to be able to introduce you to someone then that you're going to see. So for me, and I think for a lot of people, it is not a good idea to aimlessly walk through the exhibit halls. It's very difficult to be able to maybe get to the group that you're trying to see. Maybe there is a product that you really are interested in. Jay certainly has the organization very often at a lot of these events. And so you want to be able to sit down and have a real conversation while you're there. So I'm very much a fan of pre-planning who it is that you're going to see and then reaching out to them, asking them what salespeople are going to be at their booth so that you actually have a connection to be able to have a one-on-one conversation with somebody. I do call it get the VIP treatment. I love to take my clients and walk them around the exhibit hall that I've already planned for them, who they're going to be able to see. So that definitely is a big time savior. And then it's all how you worked to be able to get to the event. Just only a week before you could start targeting your list. So you can start keeping an eye on these folks on LinkedIn. You can send messages to them through LinkedIn or direct email. Let them know that you're going to be there. Certainly the ideas that Jay has about putting together dinners, that's always going to be a well-attended item for you because you're going to be able to have that one-on-one engagement. Make sure that you confirm your meetings. As we all say, we live every day in virtual coffees. It's great when you can actually sit down and have a coffee with someone and then put all your plans into place.
Well, Pat, I love it. I mean, you learn something every time from an expert such as yourself. I love that walking your clients around the vendor hall. That's a great one because I don't know exactly what to do with my clients, but maybe they're looking for an after hours call center, or maybe they're looking for to figure out which AI technology. So walking them around and making those introductions is a great strategy. And I love the mining the speaker comments in LinkedIn. That's a really good one. Thank you for sharing. Next up is my buddy Frank Rekas. And Frank's from Palm Wealth Partners, and he's a Chicago Blackhawks fan. Frank's going to have a couple great years coming up. They've been rebuilding, but it's nice to find someone in Florida who can really talk hockey. And he does one of the best things a networking partner can do. He is the champ of introductions. Frank must have introduced me to 10 or 15 people, both for networking purposes and also attorneys that I can talk business. I think he's also third time at TGR Live. Is that correct, Frank?
Second time.
Oh, second
my
time?
second
Okay,
one.
so you're there TGR Live 2025 and coming back as an ambassador and host of a power table in 2026. Quick thought, anything different that you would tell folks about TGR Live?
Well, it was my first law firm conference, and not being a lawyer, I really had no idea what to expect when I went last year. But honestly, I felt so at home, and I think that has a lot to do, Jay, with the people that you invite, the people that were there. Meeting Chris Earley, who I've known from LinkedIn, meeting him in person, and he came up to me and we hugged like we were high school buddies. Meeting Brooke Birkey, who I know, meeting Slater. It's just seeing those people in person and meeting with them and talking to them on a more personal level just made the entire conference for me a lot more beneficial. I just thought it was great.
All right. Well, you're definitely a conference commando, one of the best local networkers here in the legal community in South Florida. So I look forward to your tips.
Great. So I think the first thing is that you should show up with a plan. Yes, you want to come and you want to have, fun and meet people, but have some intention. You're going to be away from your family, you're going to be away from your practice, and you want to get as much out of this as possible. So one thing that I think you should do is choose at least 3 people that you want to meet. Are they owners of a firm? Are they partners at a firm? Or who are good referral sources? Maybe for cases that you don't do and you don't want to do, but people that you're going to need to refer to do future business with, as well as look at some of the vendors and see where are there situations that you might be able to improve what you're already doing. The other thing is think of a challenge that you're having and think of asking some of the people that you come across meeting, what are they doing with the specific challenge? Whether it's growing the practice, you're struggling hiring somebody, your intake system seems a little wonky. How do you manage cash flow in your budgeting? But think of something that's going to generate some conversations with some of the others so that you can get some real information to take back with you. And then define an outcome that makes the trip completely worth it, right? Maybe you're growing. You want to find that right hire, but you're not sure if it's the right time. You have an idea about marketing. You have an idea about managing cases. Or you want to form a partnership with somebody and you're not really sure how to handle it and what the best way is to take care of it. So have an outcome that you want to resolve, hopefully, by the time you get back. And think of questions before you get there that are going to resonate with people, that are going to matter, and that they're going to create discussion, right? It's not just what do you do, it's other questions that you should be asking. What's your biggest challenge with growing your practice? Or what was the biggest challenge in growing your practice that you experienced? What are you doing about your money and how are you handling your cash flow? Especially if you're a personal injury attorney and your cash flow is up and down and it's extremely variable. And then one thing that I like to ask people is, what's one thing that you were doing last year that doesn't work anymore and you want to fix it this year? That can be one of your biggest challenges and maybe one of your biggest accomplishments for the year. So be useful, right? Make an impression with people. Charisma's fine to have, but you want to make an impression. By making an impression, it's really going to come down to asking good questions. But another thing that I like to do, and Jay kind of already mentioned it, is be a connector. Look for people who should meet other people. If I see Chris Earley, and I know I'm going to see Chris Earley, maybe there's someone that I know that wants to talk to him. Maybe it's a younger personal injury attorney that wants to hear Chris's story, which is a fantastic story. Maybe it's someone like Ivy, who somebody wants to learn, how do I grow my business? What are the things that I need to do to grow my business? And try to figure out who are people that you can connect with each other. When the meeting's over, send something relevant to those people within 24 hours, even if it's a thank you card, right? Or maybe an article that you saw or an idea that you have that you heard from a speaker that was at the event that you thought was going to work well for you. Maybe you'll think it's going to work well for them. And maybe give them an idea that's really going to benefit them in their situation based on something that you both talked about that's going to be relevant for them to improve in their personal situation. So this is what I call the rule of 72, and it's not the one that you're thinking of. This was actually created by a friend of mine, Bob, who's in my portion of the business. But within 72 hours of attending a meeting, attending a conference, put in one idea within 72 hours. Because otherwise, if you don't take action on something, what did you do for the 2 days that you were here? So think of something that you can do that you learned or that you talked to somebody else about or you heard a speaker say that's going to make a difference in your practice immediately. And the sooner you do it, the sooner you're going to feel the impact of that idea. And then follow up with at least 3 people that you made contact with, maybe someone that you had a drink with, you had lunch with, or breakfast with. Think of something that the two of you talked about and go back and follow up on that. Schedule a coffee meeting. I love coffee meetings. I love going to lunch with the attorneys and the people in the legal space that I've met. And that's where you can continue to develop the relationship. Even if it's 20 minutes on a virtual call, take that effort, make yourself memorable, but also take that action. And then for yourself, give yourself one definite step that you're going to take. It's going to improve not only your business, but also your personal life that you've learned from being at this conference. Thank you, Chief.
Frank, I love that. The intentionality of it. I was actually taught this strategy for when you go to like a cocktail party or even a conference, and you said your goal is to meet 3 people. And that's actually a great goal to have, like at the welcome cocktail party at TGR Live. You want to meet 3 new people that you might have a follow-up with, or you might be able to help them with something. And then the rest of the night you can schmooze with your friends. But give yourself like a small achievable goal. And I love that part about intention. Like 3 people, 1 problem I'm going to solve at this conference, and 1 goal I have for this conference. What's 1 thing you're trying to fix? I thought that was fantastic. Great job, sir. Stick around. There'll be questions at the end. And without further ado, my good friend Chris Mullins. Chris, we've been doing this for 5 or 6 years now, maybe even more. And Chris is one of those Conference Commando hacks that she's got to share with us. It seems like she's always on the stage at every important legal conference. She's written a couple books, and she's definitely one of the leading experts in the industry on coaching law firm intake teams, teaching them how to have empathy and teaching them how to close sales. Chris, you've been to TGR Live. Is this your 2nd or 3rd time?
3rd time, yeah.
All right. You're a pro. What's 1 piece of advice for TGR Live you have for everybody?
The first thing I want to say about what I love about TGR Live is one of the events that I went to, Jay and his team works really, really hard to help everybody meet each other and learn about each other. And you had everybody sit face to face in the conference room, and everybody got a turn basically to ask everybody a question and tell everybody about themselves. And so that just says it right there. That it's very warm and focused on helping people. So that's what
The
I
speed networking, right?
Yeah, I think that's what you call it.
Yeah.
But that was, I
We
think some
love it.
people, they were a little uncomfortable at first, but then they were like, oh, this is great. So yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah, one of the other things that we do a little differently is we tell everyone at the start, don't avoid the sponsors and the booths. Go and talk to the sponsors.
Yeah.
I was going to mention this before. Like that great question is what's working for you? But they have 50 or 500 legal clients. What's working for my competitors? Just
Mhm.
go around and ask everyone that question. I guarantee you'll come back a lot smarter. Anyways, Chris has some tips for us. So I'll stop talking and turn
Yeah.
it over to her.
So absolutely go with the idea that you're going to work, not to rest. So rest up before you get there. And you're there to roll up your sleeves and do everything that you can to meet the most important people to you and to solve problems. So pick 3 top priorities that you have that you want to solve. At least one of them, pick at least one that's a non-negotiable to you. You're just refusing to leave without getting a solution to that. Okay, so that will be 1. Get noticed. So I'm also an introvert. Most people don't really know that, but I am an introvert and I get it if it's a little bit uncomfortable to initiate relationships and conversations and lean forward, but just push yourself to do it. Practice before you get there, role play before you get there, practice with your kids and your partners, but you're there to get noticed. And one of the best ways to get noticed is when the microphone is passed around for anybody to ask a question, get up to the mic, ask your question, say who you are. Just lean forward and do it. And you'll get noticed, but you'll also learn. And each time you do it, you'll feel more comfortable. Meet the speakers, make a list before you go. Meet the speakers and the panelists and the vendors. Decide which vendors you want to meet. You're there, help the vendors, get to know them, see how you could help them, give them ideas, build a relationship. They'll do the same thing for you. Okay, so get to the gym at 5:30. Even if you're not going to go back, just get there at 5:30 and get to the hotel coffee shop at 6. This is where deals happen. This is where you're going to meet people that you want to meet. And if you're there, you'll be able to initiate a conversation. Also, sit outside the rooms, the session rooms, before the doors open. Just sit right there and you'll find out who you want to meet. Network. So I just said this, initiate conversations. Always end with what you can help them with. So what can I help you with? What can I do for you? And then when they tell you, follow up. Don't forget, and make sure right away that you record the notes of each conversation. You'll be nervous, so you won't remember right away. So you got to write it down, record it in a voice recorder or something so that you can remember. And then, the follow-up, which I think was already mentioned, that's really important, but I recommend that you start your follow-up before you leave the event. So make appointments, reach out to people, get to know them, do it right away while they're still thinking about it as well. Because once everybody goes back to the office, we're not thinking about it anymore. And then also call me and I'm happy to help you and I'll meet you there and guide you through the process.
Chris, that's fantastic. We're starting to see some similar themes. Like Chris and Chris had a similar strategy. Chris Mullins said, stand by the doors before they open. And Chris Earley said, stand by the doors. That's a really good one that I've never consciously made note of. I love that. Send yourself voice memos on the follow-up, because I'm always wondering, like, what is the protocol for doing that follow-up and doing it properly? So that's awesome. And make appointments at the event. Another really good one. We've had our best trade shows where we've actually blocked my calendar for a couple weeks after the event and then booked meetings in because my calendar's open for the next couple weeks. I got those meetings pre-booked. It's a definite win. Next up is Adam Rossen. And Adam's a principal at Rossen Law Firm, criminal attorney in South Florida. And it's pronounced Rossen with 2 S's. It's not Rose.
Now you know why.
I got to get that right this week. He has his amazing story about his internship program. One of the best things I've ever heard. And he told the story on our podcast. It's episode 146. So if you want to build a loyal following of like 40 young up and coming attorneys, listen to Adam's program on the 10 Golden Rules podcast, number 146. And without further ado, Adam, tell us how we can be a conference commando.
Thanks, Jay. So I'm super excited to be here. First of all, in South Florida, it's 50, 60 degrees, so it's freezing. So I got my big jacket on. Even though I'm indoors, it's still cold. But it's going to be gorgeous in 3 weeks for the conference. I'm so excited. So I think, like Chris and like some others, this is my 3rd year at the conference. So I've been here since the beginning. I'm very excited for that. And similarly to Chris, I've been getting demoted each time and keep having to fight and beg Jay for spots. I joked with you last year that I did such a good job on YouTube the first year that you replaced me with Jeff Hampton, who, by the way, you should have replaced me because Jeff is amazing. And I've learned a lot from Jeff. So he was great last year. And then I talked about the internship program last year. And now I'm here as a conference commando and ambassador. So look, a lot of the things that I'm going to say, it's similar to everybody else, but maybe we say it in a bit of a different way. And Jay, actually, some of these things I learned from you actually at your very first conference. So look, show up with intention, of course, show up with a plan. For me, these are fun. I go to maybe 10 or 15 a year, just like Chris Earley said. And I would love, if I could go to 30 a year, I would, even though I am an introvert, just like most people on here. But just come with 3 to 5 goals. Make a list of people who you want to meet. I'm always going and saying, okay, this person's going to be here because I'm looking at the attendee list. I want to meet this person. I want to reconnect with this person. I want to spend time with Chris Earley. You know what? I've never met so-and-so, so I'm going to make it my intention to go and reach out to this person before it's over. And sometimes being an introvert, it's kind of tough to just run up to somebody and go, hey, I know you, you're going to be my new friend. That's what you got to do. And really just have an outcome. Have some things that you want to not just do there, but accomplish as well. So that's definitely number one is, we put it as pregame. Win the conference, play offense. So I think IB and some others gave really good advice about being there and making sure that you're in the sessions and learning. But also, I can tell you I've evolved a little bit. It also depends on the conference. So, Jay, you always have great information at your conferences. A lot of other of the really big 1,000-person conferences, the materials are so surface level that you really need to know, hey, is this going to be a great session? Is this going to be a conference that's all about connections and meeting people? Or is this going to be a conference where I'm going to actually learn? And some conferences have a little bit of both, some are one or the other. But I think the real business happens in the hallways, not the seats, where you can connect with that vendor or that friend or the referral source. You can meet somebody who then later becomes your mentor. Some of my biggest mentors in life over the last 10 years I met at conferences and just became friends, not from sitting down next to them going, "Psst, what were your notes about that speaker?" But for hanging out with them, getting a drink afterwards, going to dinner afterwards, and seeing them 5 to 10 times a year for a few years until we developed a true friendship and relationship. And I do think that it's okay to skip a session or two if you're making this high value connections. Again, you don't want to just be at the bar or in the conference hall the entire time. But if you're at a conference and you're inside the entire time as well, you're missing out on both ends. So I really think it's a bit of both, but you just need to be smart about it. Plan in advance. I always put the agenda on, I use the Notability app on my iPad because I love writing things down. And with my Apple Pencil and have like a little overlay thing that makes it feel like I'm writing on paper. But I'm always writing down and getting the agenda and going, I'm going to this, I'm going to this. Not so sure about that. But I'm also not rigid. I'm not just living to that in every second. So if something pops up, something pops up. And the last one is, what do you do after the conference? So for me, whether it's local or whether I'm traveling, I have my list of action items. And Jay, that's what I really loved what you said 2 years ago at the very first one. You said, write out the very top of your list or whatever, action items, and put that down as speakers are going. So as I'm listening to speakers and meeting people, I'm like, I put it into my action item list. And then I make sure that there's going to be 15 or 20. And I just go, all right, there's 20, screw it, I can't do 20. What are my top 5? And then I look at that and then I'll go, what are my top 3? All right, those are it. Those are the only 3 things I need to do, and really start working on them on the plane ride home and really get in that mindset. Because once you get back to the office, most people miss you or they need you, or you got to get back, right? Or your family. And so I really take that trip home to decompress, but actually start putting the plans into action. And the last one, this is my bonus, always show up as a giver. Okay. Always, any connection that you make, what can you do to help somebody else? Our industry is such a giving profession. People here are so nice. They really are. Yes, we're all competitive. We all want to win. We all want to grow. But I've been so fortunate to have so many great mentors. If there's anything that I can ever do for anybody, please let me know. I would love to help. And when you meet people again, just show up. What kind of value can you create for others first? And it comes back a million times more. It's relationships rather than just collecting business cards.
Yeah, great stuff, Adam. And
Yeah.
you're right. That's how I start the conference. And I tell people how I win at conferences. And that
Right.
is, I take a lot of notes. Like even today, I've got 3 pages now of notes from you all. And if you see here, the thoughts that I want to repeat and the questions I'm going to ask at the end, I put a star beside them. So when you go to a conference, take notes in your notebook or on your iPad. And then when you're maybe waiting for the next speaker or they're getting the slides up, go through and put stars besides the ones that are really good. And then don't leave the conference. And we actually give you time to work on this at the end of the day and before we leave the conference. Make a list of your top 3 that you're going to do no matter what, and your top 10 that you're going to try and get done. If you focus and get it done, then it's a win. So
Yeah.
thanks for bringing that up today. My friend Brooke, we did our first podcast interview and we tried to do it live at the PILMA conference. And it was the end of the day and it was quiet and the sessions were going on. And then all of a sudden they started setting up the bar and people started coming for drinks. It was a very hectic first interview, but we did a second interview because she's just launched a new book. So last Tuesday, we had the big launch announcement for Scaling Law, how visionary law firm owners use EOS to build value, step back, or exit. And it's actually technically launching today, right?
We had a small issue.
So you can pre-buy it on Amazon today.
There you go.
Coming soon. Coming soon.
Coming soon. Yes.
Yeah. Or here's the cheat. Go listen to last week's podcast episode. It's on YouTube or iTunes, Spotify, wherever you want. And Brooke will give you the preview and tell you some of the great strategies. But today,
Yeah.
she's going to talk about, this is your second or third TGR Live?
This is my second.
Second one?
I also got demoted.
By the way, nobody got demoted. I just always want to have fresh content. Like there's some of those conferences you go to and the same guys speak every year. So we have
I
all
do
the
agree with
awesome
that.
people, and all the people you see here today, by the way, are going to be hosting power tables. So at lunch, you're going to be able to go up to Brooke and talk about EOS and talk about CFO issues and exit strategies. And you're going to get private one-on-one time, small group, 5 or 6 people having lunch with Brooke. Eat both days of the conference. You can spend time with Adam, you can spend time with Anna. Definitely high quality time with these folks. And that's one of the other things we do to make sure you get the access you want. So Brooke, without further ado, teach us some conference strategies.
All right. So here's what I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to teach you where to stand, where to sit, and where to learn. So where do you stand? Always stand near the bar. Everybody shows up there. There are plenty of people to talk to. And frankly, you don't look like a loser if you're standing at the bar and getting a new drink. All right. Next, where to sit. Where do you sit? Here's my hack. I always sit in the sessions. And I change tables at every single session. Chris is going to be standing by the door in the back, but I'm fully participating. So I sit at a table at the end of a session. I turn around and before everybody can get up and run, because they all try to get up and run, I say, what did you like the most, or what did you find the most interesting about that session? And then I go out and I chat with everybody out in the hallway. And then I come back in and I sit at a different table for the next session. And before it starts, as we're all sitting there waiting for it to start, I ask this really original question. What did you like or find most interesting about that last session? You start great conversations, and that's how you actually get to know people. So that's where you sit. And then the next one is where do you learn? You learn in the hallway, you learn at the bar, and you learn in the buffet line. Interestingly, where you get the most value from conferences, and Jay, I'm so sorry to say this, cover your ears because I know you've worked so hard on your speakers, but the place where you get the most value is outside of the session room. It's talking to other people. It's making those connections. And it may be discussing what the speaker just said, which reinforces it, but it is that conversation. It's meeting those people. So that's where you really learn. And then I have one last tip, and this one is a bonus. So I lived in Washington, D.C. for a really long time. Jay gave me 5 minutes. I'm going to do it in 4. Normally, I like to teach people how to work a room like they teach State Department employees to work rooms. But we don't have enough time today, so I'm going to default to an MI6 trick. When there is someone you want to meet, walk by and look them in the eye. Just make eye contact. When you go up to them later and introduce yourself, they're going to feel like they know you because they've had that eye contact. So it makes introducing yourself to a stranger much less awkward. So that is my trick from MI6. If you want to be a spy like James Bond, there you go.
I love that one. I learned that many years ago when I was young and single, and I used to
Is
cheers.
that how you got your hot wife?
Yeah, just do cheers. And then later on, they'd be like, oh, I know you somehow. But I like the eye contact. It's even easier.
Yeah.
Brooke, thank you so much and good luck with the book launch. And stick around for questions. Anna's one of my favorite local contacts because we've met here in South Florida. I think we're in 3 different networking groups together. Dr. Lautenschlaeger has a PhD in management, and she's the co-founder of Lau Lau Remote Offshore and Near Shore Staffing. And I've worked with them. They're great. Like, they find amazing talent, they train them, they get them computers, they take care of all the HR. So I highly recommend Lau Lau. It's her second time at TGR Live, and she'll be an ambassador and a power table host. Anna, please share your Conference Commando tips.
Thank you. I think it's such a difficult gig to follow so many people, so many tips were already covered. So I'll just focus on what's not covered yet.
You know what? There's something we always say in the speaking business. Tell them what
Yeah.
you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So I love it that we're actually going to bring a lot of these points home.
Yeah, I think one point that was mentioned quite often is the intentionality. Coming anywhere, any event, any social event, conference with a goal in mind. It's a must. If you don't have a goal, what you measure is what you get. And actually, I had a conversation with one of my clients. She is a PI attorney. She will be attending the conference in March. And I said, what's your goal? And she said a good thing. She said she's looking to change from Clio to Lomatics. Her goal is to talk to as many peers as possible to gauge if it's a good idea. She is going to ask about the experience with Lomatics because it's potentially a very expensive mistake to make if she moves to another CRM and it doesn't work. So the goal could be anything from networking, meeting people, and getting peer insight. More importantly, just to emphasize the value of intentionality. So think about how much money you're investing into attending a conference. It's not $1,000 for a ticket or $2,000. It's your time. So as a lawyer, let's say your billable hour is $500 an hour. You invest 20 days in a 2-day conference, you're looking at $10,000 just in your opportunity cost, lost time, plus potential opportunity cost of not getting a new case that could be $20,000. Think about what you could do with $10,000. Just stop for a second. Think $10,000. I'm thinking immediately 5 pairs of new shoes, which would be amazing for this summer. One in red, one in white, one in gray. Awesome. Some people could get a pilot's license for $10,000. So what will make it worthwhile going to that conference? And be as specific as possible with that goal. It's really, really important, I think. My hack also is every time I go to any event, any conference, I definitely download a list of guests, list of speakers, and I load it into my ChatGPT or Gemini. And I ask these platforms, what guests are closely aligned with my business goals? So my ChatGPT has a copy of my strategic plan for the next 5 years. So it knows we want to work with more lawyers, for example, of a certain size. So my ChatGPT comes back saying these 3 people you must speak with because, or ChatGPT also knows that I am doing a lot of podcasting nowadays. So it identifies people who do a lot of podcasts and encourages me to invite them to speak at my podcast. So that's always a good tool, and it takes 5 minutes to do. And then in terms of prepping for it, it's very important to have an elevator pitch. Yes, you're not going to pitch for clients. You're not going in to pitch for a case. Well, as a vendor, you might, but as a conference guest, not necessarily. But this is what will make you stand out and pique people's interest. I'll tell you what happened at the last conference, actually TGR Live last year. I had a personal injury attorney coming up to me, telling me her name, shaking my hand, and saying, "Do you want a kitten?" I was, I didn't know what to say. I love kittens. I have 3, but do you want a kitten? So of course we got talking, and she explained that she works for a charity, pet rescue charity. She has a lot of kittens now. She's trying to place. So we had such a good personal conversation, and I came away with such a good impression of her because I know her from a different side now, that I keep referring PI business to her. All my friends have her business card in the car. I always say, hey, if you are in an accident, call her because she cares. She's not just a cutthroat lawyer. She actually cares. She cares about kittens. And all my girlfriends go like, oh, and put her business card in the car. So it's really important to say something that makes you different. So practice that pitch. You know, I looked up, there are 135,000 personal injury lawyers in the US, 4,000 of them in Florida. I know probably 200 of them here, and I refer a girl just because she's a kitten girl. So think about something a little bit more personable to say when you meet people to give them an opportunity to talk to you. So my line nowadays is, I say I'm Anna Lautenschlaeger, and I have the longest legs in my team. So people are like, what is she talking about? Well, I'm 6 feet tall, and the rest of my team are in Colombia and Philippines, and they're usually 5'2", 5'3", 5'4". So that's how we start talking about offshore staffing and what I do. And also, going into a conference, I always write down goals for different groups of people. So, for example, speakers, I talk to them, invite them to my podcast, schedule a meeting, invite them to my business group, or to co-host a workshop with me. Some of the speakers Jay specifically invites have an amazing social media following. You do a joint webinar with them, your rankings go up as CEO, social media, everything. So it's great opportunity. So last year, again, at the TGI Live conference, I met Mike Morse. He's he's social media star, PI attorney who grew his business through YouTube and uses amazing YouTube videos for promoting his business, which is difficult in the PI world. So he comes off stage last year. I approach him in my cheerleader manner. I'm like, hi, Mike, loved your presentation. My name is Anna. Would you present for me? He gets overwhelmed and instantly says yes. He presented to 2 of my business groups, at my webinar, and at a number of things just because I asked him. I just instantly asked him, got his business card, asked him for his personal mobile, and started texting him, Mike, I love you. Please attend this. He usually charges tens of thousands of dollars to show up at conferences. He did it all for free, and now I have him on speed dial in my address book on my phone. Peers, discuss your ideas and news. Think about what are you going to be talking to your peers. So for example, CRM, Clio, something else. Talk about the new judge in your local area. Talk about the Florida or some other bar events. Talk about how you use AI. About paralegals. Do you work with offshore paralegals? Why do you hate it? Why do you love it? And same with organizers. Do you talk to organizers? I can actually tell you that Jay's team is the best smelling organizer team in the United States. It's a fact. I'm actually not kidding. I'm very sensitive to smells. I don't like people with unpleasant perfumes, or obviously people who don't take showers as well. So for me, because I get headaches from strong smells, I hugged everyone on Jay's team last year. Everyone smells good. So go approach Jay and actually demand to be a speaker at the next conference. Ask speaking opportunities, presenting opportunities, hosting opportunities. Keep in mind that
Anna, you're almost at time.
okay, I
I,
will
I
say
like
last
this
week.
slide for you because you organize a lot of the socialization in the legal community in South Florida. Maybe give us one more great tip.
Okay, I think the key thing is preparation, follow up, but also givers gain. A couple of colleagues here already mentioned it. It's important to think how can you add value, not just what you can get out of people. Definitely go on LinkedIn, tag in as many people as possible, take photos with as many people as possible. Use the hashtag of the conference to find other people. Film videos. Take your phone, film a quick video of the room saying, hey, I'm in TGR Live, love it. It's in Delray. I'm on the beach instead of freezing my ass off in New York. Great comment. You'll get a lot of comments, people reposting. Jay's team will be reposting, etc. And think about givers gain. Support out of town guests. Tell them about the good local restaurants for them to try. Make introductions. Whom could you introduce to whom? And also share insight. Sometimes people go like, well, I don't know anything myself. Share your failures. People want to know about that as well. I tried that, it didn't work. Last year I tried QuickBooks. Massive disaster. We lost $25,000 and we are back to FreshBooks.
Anna,
Sharing. Thank you.
you could do the whole presentation because you're so good at this. Thank you so much. Next up, we have the ultimate conference commando. Paul Faust, founder of ringboost.com, the phone numbers guy, nationally recognized expert in the use of local and toll-free numbers. He got his 15 minutes of fame playing the cool guy in an episode of The Office, and it's his second or third TGR Live. Paul, why don't you share with us some of your conference commando strategies?
All right, I'm going to try and talk mostly to the vendors or partners that are going to be there because I am one. I have my own company and I also consult for 4 or 5 others. And I'm just going to kind of give you some rapid fire things. I've been doing this for a while. I've probably done over 400 conferences in my career, 20 years, 15 to 20 a year. First thing is, if you're a vendor, an industry partner, give to the event hosts. And what I mean by that is invite people to these conferences, invite your lawyers to the events, spread the word. There's a whole group of industry partners, vendors out there, and we're all trying to talk to lawyers. So if you bring your people and I bring my people and Brooke brings hers and everyone brings their own, there's a bigger environment. I'm so surprised when I look at the amount of vendors out there and then I go to their social media page and I don't see them promoting the event. That's a very selfish approach. Now you're hoping that I'm promoting it for you. We should all promote it for each other. One of the ones I'm going to throw, know you're coming to the conference. Plan it out. Talk to your boss, your manager, the rest of the people in your office, and free yourself up time to be at this conference. Do not sit on your computer because you're doing work outside of the conference. If you are coming to the conference, be the person at the conference. Know that you're going to be here and plan to be present for it. Another mistake vendors make. Do not plan your own things during the event. If there is an event cocktail party, do not schedule a dinner or a private party outside. It's not fair to the event, to Jay Berkowitz and his team at TGR Live that have put on this event. It's not fair to the vendors who have sponsored something. If you want to do something in a dead hour, an off night, that's fine. But if there's a cocktail hour sponsored by the event and vendors, don't go run and try and pull people away. It's not fair to anybody. Stop selling. Stop selling at events. Start partnering. Okay, there is not one attorney that's going to the event that is sitting listening to a speaker that says, I cannot wait for a break so I can get vomited on by 100 people trying to sell me something. Partner with these people. Talk to them. By the way, what are you sitting at your booth for all day? If there's nobody in there because they're in sessions, get in the room and listen. Listen to what they're talking about. Listen to what their questions are. Listen to what their problems are. If you sit at your booth all day behind a booth, they walk out of the room, you are a vendor selling something, they are an attorney. I sit in the room, I sit next to them. I'll elbow them and be like, hey, Jay, that was a pretty good point that guy made. Or I disagree with it. Now we walk out, I can say to Chris Earley, Chris, did you see what Jay was talking about when it comes to link, blah, 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 blah? Yeah. And we start talking. Then I can engage a conversation about my business if it's appropriate. So sit in the room, understand their problems, look for scalable
Paul,
opportunities.
give us your last fire tip.
my last fire tip. All right. Do not follow up with people the day after the conference. I'm against that. These lawyers coming to town, they're giving up a lot of time. They've got to get back into their living to keep the lights on. Give people a minute to breathe, because guess what? 50 vendors pounding them on a Monday, you're getting lost.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you. Last, but certainly not least, Brooke Birkey. Hey, Brooke, you did.
Hey, hey, great tips, everybody, so far. This has been really fantastic. All right. So I'm sorry, Jay, were you going to do an intro?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Founder of Level Up Law Firm Business Coaching, super well-known and respected member of the legal community, coaches law firms on emotional intelligence and intake, also a second-time attendee at TGR Live. And without further ado, how do we become a conference commando?
CJ, I was even more on the timer than you were. All right. So I'm going to take it to zoom out. We're going to talk about emotional intelligence and networking. And this is really making yourself that FBI agent for the day and analyzing what people are looking for and what they need. So there's this concept in communication theory. I'm not going to shove it down your throat today, but if you're ever interested in learning more, just let me know. It's all about chief concern. So nobody cares about what your concern is or what your agenda is if you don't validate theirs. So let's say I'm in here, I'm talking to Jay. Let's say I'm trying to get Jay to pick me up for a webinar. And that's my chief concern. That's what I'm angling for, right? Jay's chief concern is the fact that he has deadline issues in 5 hours. So he's not paying attention to anything I'm saying because he has this chief concern in his head, right? Or it's going kind of one ear and it's landing on the shoulder. So rather than go in there with my agenda, which is my second tip, we'll get to it in a second, I come in and I try to figure out what's on his mind. What are you most worried about? What is the biggest thing that is occupying your brain space? Whether it has to do with what I do and what you do or not, right? And so what you want to do is do that analysis. What are they looking for and what will turn them off? Just like Paul just said, nobody likes being pounded for sales. Nobody likes that. And so you want to kind of get into that person's headspace. Okay, so this is the science of chief concern. If you want to learn more, you can take a screenshot of this. This is way too many words for today. But the idea is just that when you have a primary goal, the secondary goal is going to get lost unless you address it, like I just talked about. And from there, you can find actionable strategy. So chief concern, secondary concern, actionable strategy. If you're looking to do business with somebody, their chief concern is always the most important. Yours is secondary. This is just communication theory 101. So the sender and receiver go through translation channels and they have to be decoded. And just in simple terms, this means that whatever I say to you, so let's say again that I'm talking to Jay, he's going to interpret that through his own filter, whatever that might be, whether he's preoccupied or thinks something else or whatever the case is. So you want to be aware of what that other person's decoding is, whatever their filter is, because that's how they're going to receive your communication. So that's communication theory in a nutshell. Number 2, no agenda. So this is counterculture to what a lot of people have said. A lot of be very organized, be very intentional. I agree with have a plan, but not an agenda. So you want to come in and you don't want the person who you're kind of targeting or looking at to smell your agenda. And they can, right? Everybody here knows you can smell an agenda. Number 3, think long-term relationships. So people tend to overestimate what they can do short-term and underestimate what they can do long-term. So think about the long-term. Don't be so anxious. I know when you pay money to be at a place, and like for us in the legal service industry, then you want to capitalize on every single interaction, but think long-term. You're not going to accomplish much short-term. Be organized and consistent. That's been covered a lot, so we'll skip that one. And if you are interested in anything that I had to say today, or you want to chat at the event or anything of that nature, just go ahead and book an appointment with me, visit our website. I'll really look forward to speaking with you.
Awesome. You were right. You did get it in your 4 to 5 minutes. We're at time. We booked an hour and a half, but if anyone can stay a couple minutes longer, we'll be happy to take some questions if there are any, or I have lots of questions. So Here's the question that kept coming up for me. One thing that I'm not as good at, I'm really good at the conference. I'm not as good at the follow-up. I think Chris Mullins mentioned that she makes voice messages to herself. I'm pretty good at making a list. I use Evernote and I take notes at the conference. But how do y'all get the follow-up done? Frank, you mentioned it. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, and I think you actually talked about it at last year's conference, is make a list of 5 things that I want to do, or 10 things that I want to do after I get back from the conference, and things that you want to take action on. And it's just making those notes, reviewing the notes when you get back, and then figuring out from a priority standpoint, which are the top 3 that you want to implement within the next, like I said, rule of 72 hours, and take action on them. That's probably the best thing that, works for me.
Anyone else?
I use HubSpot, and it has an app feature where you can scan business cards and they'll go right into your contacts and create a tab. And so I agree with not pounding the attorneys or your contacts the week or the day after, but you should have your plan in place and all your tasks in order while you're there.
I love the tip someone said I think it was maybe Chris Mullins again, to actually book meetings at the conference, book those follow-up meetings. It's something I've started doing. People are a little taken back. It's like, well, hey, let's get together. Okay, let's do it. You pull out your phone, but then they realize, okay, I did mean when I wanted to get together.
Yeah.
Let's get our calendars out.
I actually saw a research study recently, and it says that people, most lawyers specifically, refer to people they have spoken with at least 3 to 5 times. I always have like a 90-day plan, 48 hours, 2 weeks, 30 days, and then 60 to 90 days, and try to do different things. So send them an article, invite them to podcast, invite them to webinar, introduce them to someone, refer someone to them, congratulate them on a win. That's a touch point as well. If you start following their social media, you see there is some success. So just reach out to congratulate them. That's always good as well. And they recommended in that study to aim for 4 meaningful touches per year, and one of these should be live. So lunch, coffee, event, conference, invite them to your corporate event. So I always plan out. I send my assistant all business cards, scan, and tell her so she plugs it in my calendar. People's birthdays, that will be one touch point. Christmas, Thanksgiving, going to conference. I already scheduled 17 meetings for the TGR Live to connect with people before the
My
conference.
goodness. You're 17 ahead of me. Patrice, a question from Jacob on LinkedIn. Before you even arrive at a conference, what specific steps do you take to ensure you leave with real opportunities, not just conversations?
Well, I think you have to ask for those opportunities. And I find this especially as you're walking the exhibit hall and you're talking to salespeople, most of the time they don't ask to be able to have the follow-up meeting. Or just like Anna says, try to schedule it while you're still there. Chris is definitely spot on with that. But my intention, and I think that's really how you go about it. It's not that you just walked in the door and didn't have any idea of what you were going to do with this group and who this group was going to be. You have to have some goals so that you can bring home some goals. That doesn't, 3 people. For somebody who's new to doing this, just say, I'm going to come back. I'm going to have calls with 3 people that I really connected with. But it is that commitment, and it is just finding the common ground with someone to give them the interest in you as much as you're interested in them.
Brooke had a great strategy. She said that she changes tables every time. And they say that's good because it gives you a mental refresh as well. I learned this strategy from someone. There's a mastermind I go to, and there's about 150 people now. Well, you used to, between every breakfast and every lunch and every cocktail and dinner, you used to sit with everybody throughout the conference. Now there's no way you can do it in like 2.5 days. I forget who taught me this. They said, the first thing I do is I go and get a coffee and I sit down at one table. Then I say, hey, I'm going to grab some fruit. And then this is at breakfast. You grab some fruit, sit at another table, then say, hey, I'm going to use the restroom. And then you grab some eggs and you sit at another table. So you have a nice light breakfast, but you get a chance to triple your chances because sometimes at the dinners you're stuck, like there's no moving. Who else has a strategy like that, and how do you make it work?
Well, I'm an extrovert. I may be the only one in the room. So I just talk to people. I don't care who they are. So I think that one of the things people hate the most is when you're looking over your shoulder, is like if there's someone else that's more important than them.
Yeah.
So just whoever you are, I want to talk to you. I want to hear your story while you're here, kind of a thing. And I just love talking to people.
You know, for me, like years and years ago, when I first started this whole thing of going to conferences, my mindset was more about getting clients. And that's what my focus was. But I realized that really wasn't the best strategy. Obviously, we want to do business, but I just learned to shift my mindset to strategically the people I want to meet, but who can I help? And if I really feel that way, which I do now, then a lot of things come back to me. So it's just something I kind of worked on over the years.
One of the best strategies I'll share for those folks who stuck around and anyone who watched the video this long is actually take a look at this room, because we've actually created a networking group and we get together once a month with all the people in this room, as well as we throw events and dinners and parties at the conferences, and we all get together every year at TGR Live. And that's been one of our secret sauces, is that we all put time into helping each other. So if you want to be an advanced level networker, create a group of your like-minded peers who are doing the same thing in the same marketplace, or get in touch with me and join our
Yeah.
group.
I asked my ChatGPT this morning, prepping for this, why do people attend TGR Live? I was trying to gauge what people would be interested in hearing at the webinar. And I said, analyze all online feedback TGR Live ever received from guests. And what do they mention? And it says high level networking with other growth minded attorneys. Many comments praise the ability to connect with peers, compare strategies, and build meaningful relationships. So it's not about learning, it's not about presenting, it's really about establishing a strong network.
Chris Mullins, you had a thought as well.
Well, I was going to say, like, take a look at Jay, because this whole 100 Dreamers, that whole concept, I mean, ask Jay how he did it. All the strategies he did to create this is everything that you really want to do. The conferences and follow up. And I mean, that's like, just do that.
Ivy, we haven't heard from you in the after
In the
show.
after party. Yeah, I was going to say two quick things. One, since so many people spoke of being introverts, and I am one as well, when I started networking and I needed to shift my mindset around it, I said, you know what? There's other people in this room who are so uncomfortable. My mission is to make sure I can help them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
So Chris Mullins, similar to what you said, being of service, being of help.
Yeah.
So I go in with the attitude of there's other people who are as an introvert like me, but they might not have done as much networking, and I'm going to go and support them. My last tip, honestly, have fun.
Yeah.
The best business comes from enjoyment, comes from a place of engagement. Go in and have fun. I mean, the side chat that's going on, there's people like I'm excited to see that. I haven't seen it in a bunch of months, or I've only seen it in a video that we could wave. Go in and enjoy this. Enjoy the meeting of the people, because then you're going to enjoy the follow-up, and then you're going to make the great connections, and then great business happens. Have fun.
Thank you for reminding me, because I always get, like, when I'm running a conference, I get in this sort of anxiety mode. And I remember last year, I made a conscious effort to sort of let it go a little bit and have fun at TGR Live. And thank you all. I'm going to find my calendar right now and make a note to myself. Frank, we haven't heard from you at the after party.
I think that the thing that I would try to say is, for me, I'm connected to a lot of people on LinkedIn, and it's just fantastic to see people in person. And I'm a hugger, so putting the warning out there. If you see me, we're going to hug. That's just the way it is. And I think that helps not only just break the ice, but make everybody feel very comfortable. And truth be told, I was never an extrovert when it came to networking and going to conferences. I would hang out in the corner, stand against the wall. But over time, I've learned and become more comfortable getting in front of people, talking to people. And sometimes it just takes seeing that one face. So if anybody's still on here, you need to see one face to make you feel comfortable, come by and see me and, let me know who you want to meet, and I'll do my best to connect you.
Well, that's a great note to wrap up on. Thanks everyone for being here. Thanks to all the attendees, and a big thank you to everyone. Probably tens of thousands of folks who are going to watch this on YouTube at some date in the future. So reach out to us. Say, hey, I saw your webinar. It was great. Put your notes in the comments. Someone had a great hack. I think it was Patrice Gimenez who said, it's a great hack to go through the notes in the comments and reach out to those people. So
Yeah.
put your notes in the comment. That's a great way you can network after the fact with these folks in this group. So thank you, everyone. And hopefully we'll see all of you, and hopefully a lot of the folks watching and listening at TGR Live 2026. And if you're watching this sometime in like the summer, come on out to TGR Live 2027. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the 10 Golden Rules of Internet Marketing for Law Firms podcast. Please send questions and comments to podcast@10goldenrules.com. That is podcast@TENgoldenrules.com.